and effort to go out and learn new things, you're absolutely stuck where you're at, and you are at a place where you are not going to be learning further. So that's my main reason is I always want to stay sharp. I always want to learn.
Yeah.
I always want to know what other people are doing to be better. You know, when if we're closing an amount of transactions, I want to know who's closing twice as much and what kind of systems they have in place and what their mentality is, and you know, just little tiny nuggets of knowledge that sometimes people just accidentally say can make such a big difference in your own company.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest points that we had brought up while we were kind of talking about, you know, why did we go to convention and what was the benefit of it? And one of those is, you know, there was agents there, business people that they're profiting $80 million a year.
Yep.
You know, these are some big rollers, and if you think you know everything, and these guys are making that much more cash, and obviously you still got something to learn.
Yeah.
And it would, you know, you serve yourself well by going and hanging out with these people and learning from them, and like you said, you know, gleaning some information from them so we can continue to grow our business and get better.
Absolutely. And here's the deal: when you go to an event like this, the ticket generally costs you. I mean, I don't know when's the last time you guys went to like another convention. Is there conventions for title companies?
Not really.
Really?
Not nationally.
Wow.
I mean, it's just title people are weird people. They don't like
You guys don't like sharing.
We don't like sharing. We don't like training other people how to do what we do.
Yeah.
It's like a magician.
Yeah. Like as if it was like some sort of magic or something. You know?
Exactly. It's like the secret.
It's crazy because really with title companies, in my opinion, you guys all do the same thing. The only etc.
Then everyone benefits.
You know,
Right.
no, the original comment was, well, wouldn't we be competing with each other? Wouldn't we be in a point where we might actually hurt each other's business? And you know, the people that I was sitting with all turned around and totally disagree with that comment, because the way we saw it is, if I have something to contribute, the next person might take that and just make it better. The next person might take that and make it better. Next person might take that and make it better. And then it'll come back around to me, and I'm like, hey, take a look at this, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the idea. And we just figured, we looked at each other like, hey, if four of us, if all four of us in this room from Houston took our business to the next level, is it really going to hurt any of us? Not really.
No.
It's not going to hurt us at all.
I think we're coming back up with the actual studio.
Yeah, we're back with
audio.
the studio feed.
All right,
Yeah.
guys.
So everything's back up. Sorry about that, guys. That's my apologies.
Good recovery.
That's called the California hangover. Now I understand what a California hangover is.
Anyways, guys, thank you for staying tuned with us this whole time. I do want to finish off by saying that, you know, the ticket to this event was $200.
Okay.
That's what it cost. And then and then taking a trip, in Spirit. We just talked about how horrible it is traveling with Spirit, but keep in mind it was only $100.
That's with a check bag.
That was
With a check
with
bag,
a check bag 100 without
round
a check
trip.
bag.
Wait,
57.
round trip was 100
Round
round
trip.
trip, man.
Okay.
57. BB would travel without a bag. It's 57
57
bucks.
bucks round
Really?
trip. That's what I paid.
It really is like traveling on a Greyhound with wings, but
It wasn't that
But-
bad.
Oh no, because there wasn't anybody who smelled horrible.
Okay.
And that's one thing. Like, it's not a Greyhound unless you have a really, really bad smelling person. on
Yeah.
board.
And they
yeah.
had strong alcohol. We were all right.
Yeah. And they do serve alcohol on Spirit, so it's not completely Greyhound.
okay.
Oh, it's closer to
It's
like a
close.
jumbo bus.
Got it. Regardless, think about it. The trip itself, was $300 to get there. By the way, we used Airbnb to find a place to stay.
Okay.
Amazing
and
place,
it was an
by the way.
amazing place, right near.
It's so funny though, because all of the same problems that we're having with Airbnb here, they're having with Airbnb in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because as I was talking with our Airbnb host, he sent me a bunch of emails and text messages saying, hey, if you run into any of the neighbors or anything, don't tell them you're an Airbnb. Tell them that you're my friend.
Yeah.
They're trying to get it to stop. And the place that we were staying at, a lot of celebrities lived inside of that building.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for them to know who actually lives there and doesn't, because they just show up randomly for a few days at a time and then they leave again.
Had a lot of high-end security, really, really well located, and for the price, it was phenomenal because there was 8 of us staying in a tiny little 2-bedroom,
Wow.
and they had the whole setup, beds for everyone, everything. It was a great experience. But more importantly, we found another really cool website for traveling. I don't know if you guys out there like to travel or not. I hope that you do. We found
We'll
another
tell people about it after the break.
Do I have to wait? Okay, I've been wanting to tell. I've been wanting to
gotta
tell someone
wait.
about this whole time. All right, we'll be right back. We'll tell you more about this other website we found that's going to make your traveling awesome. We'll be right back. Making offers and talking to the neighbors and whatnot. And out of one of the letters that we sent to the neighbors, we had an elderly lady call us and say, hey, I want to sell my house and I want to sell it now and I want cash. Now this is the type of call that we normally never get, right?
Right.
It's always like, hey, I want to sell my house. What's the most I can get for it? Give me the highest offer, something like that. But this lady would, she already had a number in mind. She knew what she wanted. She wanted cash. And the number that she wanted was like 20 or 30 cents on the dollar, which, was a great deal for us. We were so excited to go out there and put a contract on it and start, working on it. But we go over there, and what happens is we walk in, and the lady is living in a completely uninhabitable place. She's got no running water. She's living kind of, in trash and obviously in her own feces, and it just goes on and on and on. And in the conversation, we start figuring out that she's not quite right, because she starts telling us, about the Japanese people that live under her house,
Did a tunnel.
that have
Yeah.
tunneled under her house, that live under there, and that are threatening to like put bombs or something throughout Houston.
Why do you have to be Japanese?
I have no clue. We
It had
still
something
haven't
to do
figured
with-
that
It
out.
had something to do with like World War II.
Okay.
And she was very paranoid about like World War II. She lived during those times. And so she swore that they had tunneled from Japan all the way under her house. And that's where their escape route was, that they would come
Wow.
out of her house. Yeah.
And she said this with a really serious face. She was so concerned about us buying her house because she just knew that we were going to have to deal with these Japanese people underneath her house. And it was, it was funny, and we laughed at it, but at the same time it was really, really sad. And here's the kicker. We decided not to buy this house because we didn't know what the consequences were going to be, knowing that she wasn't fully capable of signing that contract. And I think that those scenarios exist more often than not. If you're out there, even as an agent, if you're representing a client who isn't mentally capable of making a decision, you're in potential trouble. Would you agree?
Well, all those contracts are voidable. They're not void contracts. So if you contract with somebody who doesn't have capacity, that contract becomes voidable. Now, voidable, the person who would void the contract is generally an heir of somebody who sold property.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, somebody behind you probably bought that same house and they got a good deal. And whether or not that contract was ever voided, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd have to go back and look at the contract and see whether, quite frankly, I hate to say this, but you create a policy of insurance against Japanese building tunnels underneath your. But yeah, so it's just so whenever you deal with somebody who seems to be Looney Tunes,
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes a voidable contract. Now, it's not automatically void, it's just voidable. Now, what would have happened is if you would have paid money and then somebody would turn around and void the contract. Now, essentially what would happen is the contract, that the ownership would have gone back to that lady and her family. Now you've been stuck with a lot of cash,
Yeah.
not being able to get back.
Yeah.
And that was the problem with moving forward. So you probably did good by not. So sometimes if things are too good to be true, now
They
you also,
probably are.
right. Now you also hear about the lady who sells the BMW or the Porsche for $20 because her and her husband split up.
Yeah.
Now, would that be voidable, or is that a void contract, or is that perfectly legal?
Seems legal to me if she owns it.
Seems voidable if she was in distress when she signed it from her divorce.
Well, maybe she was in distress. Maybe she was so happy to sit there and screw him.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was
True.
thinking.
Yes.
She's
True.
Because the whole thing is hey, everything's split up. Like when I used to do divorce law, I used to tell my clients, go to Vegas. I used to do family law. Go to Vegas, have a good time, check in 4 different hotels, and by the way, take every asset you have, stocks, cash, bonds, cash them all in, take them all out of the account, then go open a bunch of markers and come back and say you had such a good time, you don't remember a darn thing.
That's one way to piss the other guy off.
Oh, wow.
It's funny. As a joke, one year, I used to just try to think of like funny pranks to prank my wife until she finally decided to tell me that if I did it again, she was gonna go berserk on me. So one year I decided to post up an ad on Craigslist saying, I'm really pissed off at my wife. I'm selling her car for $10 or something like that. And then I put her number for the calls. She must have gotten, I kid you not, like 1,500 calls in an hour.
Wow.
And she couldn't, like every time she picked up, she'd be like, no, my car's not for sale. Stop calling me. Why do you keep calling me?
That's hilarious.
It's like the guy who died over in Zimbabwe. He left you $100 million, where you send them $5,000 and they'll send you $100 million.
Oh yeah, you mean the prince? I get emails from him all the time. He promises me riches.
He has the same name as you.
That guy's amazing.
I mean, Hernandez out in Zimbabwe.
Anyway, so there's always that situation where you have to figure out who is able to sign. Now, in this case, in this scenario, the one thing that we were worried about was obviously the lady not having capability, and we thought we could overcome it by by simply hiring an attorney on her behalf.
Right.
Have you ever thought about that as a solution?
Generally, well, the only correct way is to appoint a legal guardian,
Yeah.
which means you have to petition the court, and actually the court would have to, find out that she's Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
And then the court will appoint, a next friend, a guardian, a legal representative. That's the correct way to do it.
Right.
And so it actually wouldn't be an attorney on her behalf. The attorney on behalf would actually start legal proceedings, and generally that would be done in the probate court, a guardianship.
Yeah.
And what does that cost? What are you looking at spending for creating a guardianship for somebody?
Generally, attorneys charge between $3,000 to $5,000 for that.
Now, here's the thing. If we were an interested party to purchase that home, is that something we can pay for on her behalf, or is that something she has?
Absolutely.
So
Because,
there's no conflict of interest there with us wanting to purchase the home and hiring the.
well, an attorney would basically disclaim his, basically you hire an attorney, and then the attorney would disclaim his loyalty to you,
Okay.
and would turn around and says, okay, hey, you're paying me. I just wanted to disclaim everything, that all my representations to her. So it's almost like you're giving her the money to hire.
Yeah.
And
Got
so,
it, okay.
and so, there is a conflict, but everything will be disclosed and everything will be written away, and then there will be a clear master and a clear servant, and the attorney will basically says, hey, you paid for me, but I'm not getting orders from you.
Yeah.
She's my boss.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess maybe what you could do is maybe write in something that would say, hey, if the house does sell and it doesn't happen to be to you or any of your clients, then you'll get your money back at the point of sale, or you get your money plus some, maybe, at the
you
point of sale.
Well, you can always do that, but then again, if the person's crazy, you give them cash.
Well, because I'm thinking if we hire the attorney for this person, the attorney says, okay,
I see what you're talking
it
about.
makes more
Okay.
sense not to sell it at 30 cents on the dollar. You're going to pay, 90 cents on the dollar for this property. We turn around and say, well, obviously that's not a deal for us anymore. We just want our money back at the point of sale. Is that something that you think we could?
Well,
potentially do?
absolutely. Basically, you hire the attorney, and the attorney's sole job is to show that they could sign off on the papers.
Yeah.
I mean, period, that they're crazy enough to enter into a contract.
Yeah.
And so you make it clear to the attorney that, hey, this is the contract. This is what I'm hiring you to do to make sure that you can basically has capacity to sign this contract.
Yeah.
And generally that'll be done. Now, periodically, an attorney would get overzealous, and they would screw everything up by saying, hey, yes, you got a $30,000 deal, but the house is worth $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, she's going to have to sell for $150,000. So,
Yeah.
Now,
it's a risk.
Isn't it also possible that the court itself can assign a value to the property? So they could say, before you sell, because she's not mentally capable of doing that, you're going to need an appraiser, and we won't accept anything less than 80 cents of the appraisal value, something like that?
It's possible, but then you'll have a very judicious judge.
Okay.
Most judges, they don't care. I mean,
Okay.
they just want to decide what's in front of them. Very rarely will you have a judge turn around, take the bull by the horn, and say, hey, here's what the property's worth. I'm going to order appraisal. And because for the most part, these competency hearings are just that, competency hearings.
Yeah.
And, the person determining competency is not supposed to look into the contract. They're just supposed to turn around and determine competency. Like, one thing that you can do is you could basically hire the attorney just to show competency. And once the competency is done, then you execute the contract.
Perfect.
And so that way, the attorney doesn't know how much the contract is for. Their sole job is to go out and prove competency to sell the property. And then at that time, you have, at that time, you already have a contract signed. And then, they determine their competency, and then you get the contract re-signed a second time. And then you have two sets of copies of the contract.
Yeah.
That's probably the safest way, because she's determined competent, and then you have the backup contract already executed. Guess what? There's a retroactive thing to where she can't backdoor you.
Yeah.
Now, you should also get another one signed, because obviously sometimes the competency hearing may take 4, 5, 6 months.
Wow, so it can take a really long
It
time.
can take a while, because it's like with any court proceeding.
Yeah.
Judges are busy, so you have to get a schedule.
Wow. Well, look, Ashley, I really appreciate you being here. I know you have to go to court because you
Actually, you got to go deal,
you-
not the court, you got to go deal with a crazy person signing off on a contract.
A potential
Yeah.
Alzheimer's. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I've got to make the determination of whether or not they truly have Alzheimer's, and if they have any symptoms, whether the lucid interval. So I'm not letting one of my closers do that, so I'm doing that myself, which is another reason why you close a title company with attorneys on staff.
Yeah, because you guys can do that. Definitely.
Exactly.
Sure, man. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today. I know
welcome
that
back from LA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've
Thank
had a
you.
couple technical difficulties, but we're overcoming them. And next week we'll be ready to continue the show, and we'll continue our conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you all, guys.
Awesome,
All right.
Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
So before we went on our technical break, we were talking about traveling
Yes.
and how we've been using Airbnb, and we actually found a new website.
So
traveling.
everybody yells at me because I talk about Airbnb a
All the
lot
time.
on this website,
Me too,
on
yeah.
this show. They're like, hey, you need to stop talking about that. You always talk about it. All right, so I'll stop. I won't cover Airbnb anymore. Although I will tell you that my little deal on next to U of H, it's going phenomenal.
Yeah, the one-
phenomenal.
You got
Yeah.
it booked solid, right?
It is booked solid almost up until
December.
November.
Yeah.
December already has like 1 or 2 weeks already set up.
That's
So
amazing, man.
Sounds like people should start
keep in
listening.
mind, I put this thing up in mid-August, like August 15th.
Yeah.
And immediately it booked for the rest of the month, and then the following 2 months. So, I mean, it's been pretty phenomenal. Probably, in my opinion, it tops the best rental I've ever had.
Yeah, I would say that the only downfall of an Airbnb is one location, which you can have hotels in a seedy location too.
Yeah.
So that to me is not even a real fall off. But the only part where Airbnb fails is when you need a place instantly.
Yeah.
Like when our airplane got delayed and they said, okay, well, you're gonna have to come back in the morning. We needed a place right then and there, and it's so hard to get an Airbnb right then and there.
No, you can't. It doesn't make sense for the host either to rent an entire space for one night, collect $150, and then they have to pay their cleaning crew 70 or 80 of that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense to do that. But all right, let me tell you guys about this awesome website that we found, and this is how we were able to rent not one car, not one big giant van for all of us to go drive.
Because
in.
these guys wanted me to rent a minivan in LA.
When and BB boycotted this, right? He was like, "Listen, we're not going to go to LA and drive around in a minivan. That's not cool." So we wanted to be a little cooler than minivan drivers, and we decided we'd rent Jeeps, right? Because it makes sense to drive a Jeep in California.
Yeah, for some reason, Jeeps just sounded right to me for California.
It was pretty badass.
It was pretty awesome. We took the tops down and all that. And the way we did it was through a website called Turo, Turo.com.
Yeah.
And so this is a really, really neat little find because it's essentially a place where you can rent other people's cars for a very short amount of time. So if you wanted to travel to a city and still drive the same car you drive in your own place at home,
Or a nicer one.
or
even.
even a nicer one, and just pay a little extra, you wouldn't believe the prices that we got these Jeeps for, and how what an amazing experience it was.
It was.
With BB's Jeep, they actually even dropped it off at the front of the departure,
Yeah, they
the
met
arrival
me,
gate.
They met me at the terminal, at the arrival gate.
Yeah.
Gave me the keys right there. I don't know how the guy got back. I don't know if he booked it by foot or got on a bicycle. I have no idea. I honestly don't know how he got back.
Yeah.
But then when we dropped it off, he met me back at the airport, checked the car, said, okay, everything's good. And then the only difference between this and a rental car is you have to clean it before you return it. But
Yeah.
what was really cool about my guy, I was like, look, man, I don't really have time to go find a car wash. What can I do? He was like, just toss me $20 and we're good.
Nice. So you did that, gave the car back, walked right into the airport. and
Yeah, man, I got
that's
to
it.
drive a car that at Thrifty, Alamo, any of the other ones would have been $150 a day.
Oh, without a doubt. And you
And-
got to find one that has a Jeep. available.
exactly. And I paid $52 a day. I think.
Amazing. Anyway, that's a quick little tip for you guys that are out there traveling. We're going to take a quick little break. It looks like we're up and operational now. We're past our
100%.
technical difficulties. Yes. And when we get back, we'll continue telling you guys about our trip and all the stuff that we learned. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217. Stop searching and start staying in the know with our Houston Real Estate Events page on Facebook. Follow us by searching at Houston Real Estate Events to stay up to date on the latest events for real estate in the Houston area. If you are interested in having your event on our page, please email me at david@whitepicketrealty.com. Again, that's david@whitepicketrealty.com. non-paid events only. One more time, find us on Facebook at Houston Real Estate Events, and we'll see y'all at the next one.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back on Realty Ruckus. David, how's the weather going to be out there this week for us?
Well, of course, we come back from sunny California and we're confronted with some more rain. We got a high of 89 today and a low of 78 with a 60% chance of thunderstorms, and expect it to stay wet through the weekend. I think it's going up to 90% on Sunday, so that's going to suck. Stay dry out there,
Yeah,
guys.
I know, man. We went to a place with the most beautiful weather in LA. It's so dry over there. Didn't rain
No
at
humidity,
all.
right? You don't feel it like you feel it here.
It's dry, slight breeze, and
it's
below
like
90s.
90 degrees out there, 80 to 85 degrees, but you just don't feel it. It's so dry. It's beautiful, man. But speaking of LA, what are some takeaways that you have from the convention? Because I'm sure everyone would like to know, what was good about it, what wasn't good about it, what did you learn, and what advice can you offer to people based off what you learned at the convention?
Man, I got to tell you, I learned a whole lot. But I think when I approach these events, I'm going there on with a different approach than maybe an agent would. You know? I'm going there with a business mindset. I'm going there to think on how I can come back and help people, or not help people, but help agents grow their businesses. That's been our big focus in the last few months, and really through the rest of this year and the next year. That's the biggest push that Team WPR is going to make, is to help agents out there. So when I'm there, I'm thinking, how can I help more agents? But I got to tell you, there was a lot of information for that agent that was just closing 5 or 10 transactions a year, and a lot of that information was just flat out giveaways on how to go from 10 transactions to 20 to 30, 40 and up. And almost everything was focused on helping that individual do that and how to do it. And a lot of it had to do with just leveraging your time and understanding some of the things you can do so that you're not tied down to your desk all day, and instead you should be out there doing what's best, which is dealing with clients. And that's actually one of the things we'll talk about here a little later in the show. We're gonna be putting on a class on that. But one of the things I got to tell you that kind of resounded with me is a buzzword that keeps coming up in real estate.
It was the number one word I heard at this conference. Every single class I attended included this buzzword.
Well, let me preface this buzzword before we throw it out there. Let me preface this buzzword by giving you guys a little bit of a startling statistic. Check this out. 50% of all real estate agents, are 60 years of age or older right now.
Wow.
Okay? 50%. And so if you think about it, they're at the age where they're going to be retiring here pretty soon.
Very soon.
They're at that point where in the next 5, maybe 10 years max, you're not going to see this group of agents anymore. That group of agents that you see driving the white Lexus with the big, with the big
the
hair,
Lexus SUV
with the big hair, the Lexus SUV with the big hair and the big necklace,
and a Zoolander pose in the photo.
Yeah. That agent will no longer exist in the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
They're going to be completely phased away. A lot of the reasons why they're not going to exist have to do with technology outpacing them, but also the fact that they're older.
Yeah,
and they're tired.
It's time to retire.
It's not easy for a 70 or 80-year-old person to go drive around the city all day and show houses. They just can't do that. So we're going to see a lot of those agents kind of fizzling away. The smart ones, and I'm going to give you guys something that I thought about. The smart ones will understand that the business that they built is their retirement.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of them are going to say, okay, that's it. I'm not showing. I'm not representing. I'm not doing anything from this point forward. I'm tired or I'm retired.
Yeah. That's
right?
for those pure just real estate agents. They got nothing else
right.
to do.
They haven't. They didn't think about this as a business. So they just so they're just going to retire and stay at home.
Yeah.
The really smart ones will say, hey, I've been closing, 20 or 30 transactions a year for the last 10 years. This is what my business is worth. This is what I've made gross. This is what I've made net. This is what the value of my business is. Hey, who's out there that wants to buy the business?
Yep.
And oh, by the way, I'll finance it to you. How about that? How about I finance all of my business that I've built for the last 30 years to you as a new incoming agent, and now I can retire peacefully with an income stream.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean it's so strange to me that less real estate practitioners do that.
Yeah.
Because a doctor, practitioner, lawyer, practitioner, optometrist, all of those different trades, guess what they do?
Yeah, they build
They
a
build up their
business.
book of business, and when they're ready to retire, they sell that book of business to somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys, but I used to have a doctor that was like 90 years old. And I went to him, and then one day I showed up and I was like, wait a minute,
New doctor.
where's my doctor? And he's like, oh, by the way, I'm your new doctor. I'm like, yeah, but this is still called whatever practice.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I bought the business from him.
Yeah.
And so real estate agents, you're right, have no reason not to do the same
They
thing.
can do the exact same thing, but it takes planning. It takes understanding that you are running a business, that you're not just out there representing a client to buy and sell a home.
Yeah.
It's a business. You have to treat it like a business. You have to understand how to value that business, and then you have to know who to approach. And this is where the buzzword comes in.
Yep.
Because who do you think would be interested in buying, a 65-year-old's business besides the people that are going to come into the business and operate it and run it and help those who are also buying and selling, which are
Yeah.
millennials.
Yeah,
Millennials.
millennials.
And that's what everyone is talking about right now. If you're out there hiring and firing, you got to deal with millennials. If you're getting into the business of real estate, more than likely you are considered a millennial, right? Because that's the new wave of
I know,
people
man.
coming in.
Isn't it weird to you that you and I are considered millennials?
To me, it feels weird because I feel like I'm probably like on the older edge of that, maybe even out, just a little bit outside of it, or
No,
right
you're
inside
inside
of it.
of it.
You're a
yeah.
millennial, sorry.
Yeah, you are.
And I say that because I don't feel like I think like a millennial. When I talk to other people, everyone has this negative connotation on millennials and them being lazy or feeling like they're owed things, entitlement, that kind of thing. I feel
Yeah.
like those kind of words go along when with the word millennial, or when you think of a millennial. But what we're realizing right now, and what studies are showing, is there are those that think that way, but there's also this other huge group of them that want to work hard, want to do well, and have a little bit clearer understanding of what the expectations are and what it's going to take to get to that point.
Yeah, and one of the panelists there in the workshop has even mentioned that they love hiring millennials because they come in with a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm and they're hungry,
You know what I like about millennials is that they're coming into this business with technology already in place.
Yep.
You don't have to teach them about the stuff that we do on Facebook.
It's going to be our generation that marries the two and moves the industry to the next level.
Well, I mean, we were there at the conference, and we went to a class on social media, and again, it was the same question: how many of you are on Facebook?
Yeah.
And I expected to see every hand in that room raised, and it was only about 60-70% of the room. The rest of it, no hands up.
Yeah.
And granted, there's always those people that don't raise their hands. Really frustrating when you're a presenter.
Yes.
But I can't believe that there's still people that don't use Facebook. It's like, man, that's such an easy way to go draw business.
It's incredible that you can be in the industry and not be on Facebook when your entire job is to make connections.
Yeah.
That's what your job is. You know that old meme, you had one job? For realtors, you had one job. It's to make a connection between a buyer and a seller. That's what you do.
And that's another interesting topic because along with that buzzword, the millennials, one of the stats that was brought up in another of the panel workshops was that millennials are currently making up 30% of the new home purchases.
Yeah.
And we're not even to the point where we can service that entire generation because half of them are still in college or not in the workforce yet.
Yeah, how crazy is that? They're buying 30% of all the houses, but 50% of their generation is still not at a working status. They're still in college or high
Yeah,
school.
so by the time that other 50% comes onto the market, the current, generation of realtors is going to have retired, and it's going to be up to millennials to know how to millennials or
Service
Generation
other
X.
millennials, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a smart entrepreneur and you're in the real estate business, you're already thinking about how you're going to do that.
Well, it's amazing because and if you're not thinking about this in your business, you may be falling behind. And that's one thing that this girl was real clear about. She was like, I want to stay ahead of the curve. I want to stay ahead of the trends because I don't want to be the person who says, oh, everything looks good now, but then all of a sudden I realize I'm outdated.
Yeah.
And so she's like, she redid her entire office to cater to millennials. So she went and looked at companies like Google, Facebook, Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
and said, what are they doing here? One, for their employees, and two, for their customers that make their customers feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So she went and she put in she installed a coffee bar and made it a very cool atmosphere. She's got music playing and she's just really trying to cater.
And that's just one area of the office, the main lobby entrance. People can kind of hang out, do some work, get some coffee, relax. But then there's also the other area where you have breakaway spaces, more private desks. So you're allowed to kind of flow, into whatever situation you need throughout that office.
Does it give you some ideas on stuff that we need to change or things that we need to update?
Oh,
things
yeah.
we can be doing better?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with there's a real fine line between catering to older clients who don't get it. I mean, just for lack of a better word of saying it, they just don't get the new generation.
Yeah.
And then being able to fully cater to that generation. And one thing about millennials is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just an observation I've made, but I feel like millennials have a much more relaxed way of life. They're not so big on, how many millennials have we had come into the office wearing full-on business suits? I would say probably none.
Yeah.
They always come in, they might wear slacks, but it's a little bit more trendy. It's less of the super formal and more of like a casual formal. It's really interesting. And so I think you have to cater your space to that. You have to make yourself that casual, formal environment. And that's tough to meet when you're trying to deal with both sides of the equation.
Absolutely, because when you're in a professional office, you have certain expectations of how you want your people to appear.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, you have to really understand what all this is going to mean, but more importantly, what it means for the actual industry itself.
Yeah.
And with millennials graduating here soon, with 30% of the market already being in the millennial space as a client, what does that mean for properties right now? What does it mean for the market itself? If you think about it, that's why that group, that entry-level group of properties, that 250 and below, is still selling so rapidly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, the low interest rates help. That helps a lot, and we don't know when that's going to change. But I can see that if you are out there and you're a real estate agent and you're watching this show, if you really want to grow your business, wouldn't you want to cater to millennials who are buying their first home?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I found really interesting was that they were talking about as millennials as clients, not as realtors or employees, but millennials as clients. They're not going out and they're not maxing out their spending power.
Yeah.
They're actually using a very small percentage of their spending power, and they're willing to buy fixer-uppers.
Yeah.
So they're not going out looking for the full-on blowout, remodel, turnkey. They're okay with spending less, but knowing that they're going to be fixing some things, which is kind of interesting because that's a little different from the previous generation.
Well, think about it. We don't want to make the mistakes our fathers made.
Yep.
That's so true.
Yep.
That's so true.
And if you think about it even further, one of the biggest mistakes that previous generations have made is living above their means.
Yeah.
I can remember growing up and friends and even, our family and then friends of the family always trying to buy something nicer than they could potentially afford. And that's, in some kind of way that had a lot to do with the meltdown that we had in 2006. And now it's different. The mentality is, I can afford a $300,000-$400,000 house, but I'm going to buy a $150,000 house because I want to be able not to just pay my mortgage. I actually want to be able to travel, and I want to be able to do other things that are more important to me than impressing my friends.
And the most important thing, and I think would maybe touch a little bit on the next section, is experience. The experiences are more important to the millennial generation than material, I would say, and we can talk about a little bit about that. What was touched on at the convention as far as marketing goes.
Exactly. Anyway, we got to take a quick break, guys. But when we come back, we'll continue to talk about what we learned, give you guys some further information, and then we got to get into some really, really important events that are happening in Houston in the real estate industry. We want to make sure you guys all know about them because these are events you definitely don't want to miss. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217. Stop searching and start staying in the know with our Houston Real Estate Events page on Facebook. Follow us by searching at Houston Real Estate Events to stay up to date on the latest events for real estate in the Houston area. If you're interested in having your event on our page, please email me at david@whitepicketrealty.com. Again, that's david@whitepicketrealty.com. Non-paid events only. One more time, find us on Facebook at Houston Real Estate Events, and we'll see y'all at the next one.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, david@houseflippingnetwork.com. That's david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back on Realty Ruckus.
So we were just talking about how, some of the things that we learned about millennials and why it's important for you to understand that subgroup of people, right?
Yeah.
But here's where it gets even more important because everyone that watches should, most of the people that watch our show are in the industry. They're realtors, they're loan officers, they're investors, they're people that are out there dealing with real estate at all times.
Oh yeah, on a day-to-day basis.
And one of the things I want to make sure that everyone's real clear on, if you're out there watching, is that you should be running your business like a business, not
Absolutely.
a hobby, not a part-time job, or whatever else, these other people treat the business as. It's a business, and if you start thinking about it that way, you start creating one. And when it comes to business, there's one thing that keeps you alive, right? And that's sales. But how do you get sales? How do you go out there and create transactions and make people call you because they want to work with you?
Yeah.
And so the
classic way.
Everyone's original idea and the classic way of doing it is, hey, we're awesome. You should come work with us. We're awesome. You should come buy and sell a house with us.
Here's what we do.
We look at us. We're really, really awesome. That's basically what people do.
Yeah.
We help people buy and sell, blah, 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 blah. You see those ads all the time. I see them in the real estate investment industry. Obviously, you guys and our viewers, maybe some of them don't know. I realized over the weekend when I was out meeting new people that some people didn't know that that's what I spent most of my time doing. But so I spend most of my time going out there and buying houses as investment property. But I see it in that subsection of the industry. Most of those people, because they're very new to understanding how to run a business,
Yeah.
they really start going the direction of direct sales, and almost sounds like, like a used car salesman, something real cheesy, like I'll pay for your house cash, call me now, and that's kind of like that's the guy that millennials will avoid, period.
Yeah, and what's funny is, if you just think about it in your life, do you like hearing ads like that? Do you
Absolutely
listen
not.
to those ads? Do you
Call me
click on
now for
those
your
ad-
free reading.
When you open up your email and there's an ad and it says that, do you click on it?
Never.
No,
Yeah.
no one's ever clicked on one of
So
those ads.
if it's not working for you personally, why would you resort to that type of advertising as a realtor?
or anything else in the
Yeah.
industry. Whether you sell widgets or you sell houses, you shouldn't be resorting to that, and you should understand that the market is changing.
So where's
First
it
of all,
heading?
it's changing in a lot of ways. It's changing in terms of media. Back in the days, everyone wanted to have a billboard. I don't know about you guys, but it's not my goal to have a billboard right now. Because
What does a billboard cost?
it's
10
12
grand?
grand a
Okay.
month.
So
Do you know what you can
12,000
do
bucks
with
a
12
month.
grand a month?
Oh, I mean, you could do
in
so
social
much.
media advertising. Let's just talk about that.
You could reach
Yeah.
the entire city of Houston
You know what I
with
mean?
social media
You really have to
advertising.
limit yourself to a billboard where only a certain amount of people drive by every single day.
Well, you have to hope that they even look at it or understand it.
Exactly.
Because I've driven by billboards where the message is so unclear, I can't figure out what the billboard is selling.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and guys, I drive in Houston. I'll tell you, people aren't looking at billboards; they're looking at their damn phones on the road.
Exactly.
So you might as well put your ads on
That's
there.
exactly right. That's exactly right. Where are people receiving their marketing? Where are people being targeted nowadays? Where are most people going to see your message? And are you delivering the right message? And that's one of the things that we were able to really learn more about during this stay in LA. And in my opinion, probably the best thing that we took away from it. It's, we talk about stealth marketing on the show all the time, and every once in a while I'll get a little kudos or a thumbs up from someone out there who'll see one of the little things that we do and say, hey man, this was awesome, this was genius. But I got to tell you, it's not genius. This is not something that has any kind of magic behind it. Stealth marketing is just an understanding that your content that you're delivering shouldn't be in a point of view of a salesperson.
Yeah.
It should be more of a story, something that you are delivering as evidence that you know what you're doing, right? And something that will not just make someone want to work with you because you're awesome, but because they like you.
Yeah, and one of the things that was funny was in the presentation we went to, they said most realtors tend to be a type A personality, which
I can
means
see that.
they're out there, they're go-getters, they want to talk with people, and they just want to get, like you say, get it done.
Yeah.
But with a different word in the middle.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But what happens is that same type A personality loves to hear their own voice and loves to talk about themselves and
right.
their successes. And that is why you get that marketing. It's like, I helped this person. I did this. I'm awesome. I'm awesome. Come work with me.
Yeah.
And instead, what they're saying is stop focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
You're not what's important. Focus on the customer.
Yeah.
Focus on the client. What did they do? What was the story behind them getting into it? And then your role is that small role in their story, but that's what you're selling. You're selling their story.
Well, look, perfect example. Let's say you're a realtor. You sell a house in a neighborhood. You list a house. You sell the house in the neighborhood. You sell it in 10 days, and you make an ad that says, I just sold this house in 10 days, right?
Yeah.
We've all sent those out. I send those out sometimes too. How can we create a story out of that? How can we make it to where some people out there will see a story instead of that advertisement?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to making it compelling. So
Yeah.
what can people relate to? How is this person similar to other people? Well, what's one thing that everyone, even the super rich, have a problem with? They never have enough money, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, well, they thought they were going to get this much, which wasn't going to be enough for them.
Yeah.
But they were able to sell at this price because the market is increased in this area.
Yeah.
And then that starts to click in people's heads, and they say, wait, the market's increasing in this area?
Yeah.
They made more money than they thought. Well,
That's
I need more money too. Maybe I can make a little extra.
Exactly.
And you start compelling them through the story rather than you saying, I'll get you more. I'm
Well,
good.
So here's the deal. There's some real estate agents who love to post Actually, it's automatic generated from our HAR system, our
Yeah.
MLS system. It's an automatic generated post that says closed on this transaction. Does that actually get you more leads, more traction, or would it be more important for you to get, even if it's just a write-up or a short 30-second video of you closing the transaction with your client and say, and yeah, like you said, tell a story about how that client got more in less amount of time, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And then one thing that you got to take away when we're having the millennial conversation is the fact that millennials are video oriented.
There you go.
YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world right now. #1 is Google. #2 is YouTube.
And Google's about to integrate those, so those
they're
videos
about to be
pop up at
one
the top.
massive search engine
Yeah.
between YouTube and Google.
So you better get on the
Start telling stories through video
If you're
content.
not
Without a doubt.
making stories on video, then you're behind the game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to say it. You're falling behind. People are going to jump ahead of you.
Well, people are having a hard time with the technology, period. So that's one thing that if you really want to focus right now on building the business, it's time for you to start looking into figuring out how you're going to create these videos for yourself, how you're going to deliver them. And Facebook is a great space to do it, as well as YouTube. I know we're running out of
Yeah,
time.
let me
we
tell
have to
them
talk
real
about
quick.
some of this upcoming events.
Yeah,
that we go for.
we'll have to cut it a little bit short, so I'm going to talk about our event. It's going to be September 28th. It's a VA class, so if you are a realtor who's ever wondered how you can get started building the team, let's come out to our event. It's September 28th, 11
We're going to
to
give
2.
you everything. We're
Yeah.
going to give you guys the keys to growing your business. That's our goal. Till the end of this year and all of next year, our goal is to take every realtor out there in Houston and help you grow your business. So we're going to give you everything you need to know on hiring, training, showing you what to have your VA
Yeah.
do. Whatever it takes for us to make sure that you go from 10 transactions to 20 transactions, that's what we're going to give you.
Guys, and just so you understand, it took me about 6 months of doing it the old way,
Yeah.
of just going out, trial and error,
Trial
figuring
and
it
error.
out myself. So save yourself 6 months, because not only was it 6 months, but it was probably another $6,000 thrown away over 6 months. Don't do that. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
So
By
if
the
you're
way,
a realtor, RSVP at vaclass.eventbrite.com. Again, if you're a realtor, you can RSVP for free at
he's saying
vaclass.eventbrite.com.
if you're a realtor, because it is a paid class, it's ultra cheap. I mean, we got it down to $15. It's sponsored by other companies like Texas American Title.
Yeah.
And Allied Home Warranty is also a sponsor.
And Success Mortgage Partners, Richard
guys,
Smith.
Success Mortgage Partners, Richard Smith. You guys, we got this price down ridiculously low, but it's also free for realtors, right?
Yes.
So you do have to put in your ID,
Your check license number.
your check license number, and if you put that in there, then you get a free ticket. Make sure you guys register. We only have a couple seats left, so you guys got to sign up now. And that's September 28th.
Next Wednesday, 11 to 2, Allied Home Warranty Office, vaclass.eventbrite.com.
Very cool. After that, we have a couple other events coming up. You want to go over those real quick?
Yeah, real quick. Well, the day before we have Capital Concepts, 5:30 to 8:30 at LaGrange, and then a couple weeks after that, we have our White Picket Happy Hour, October 11th, 6 to 9 p.m. You can RSVP at whitepickethappyhour.eventbrite.com.
And that's for you guys to come out, have a drink, have some food on us. We'll cover all of that. But it's for you to grow your business through networking, professional networking, professionals networking with other professionals so that you guys can grow your business. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Check out the links below. We're posting all of those links here so you guys can go through them, get your tickets, register, and hopefully we'll see you guys next Tuesday for our show. That's again Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're going to get past all of these technical
Yeah,
difficulties.
we
until
apologize
then.
for the technical difficulties today, but we got them fixed, and on Tuesday we won't have that same problem again.
There you go, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to keep up your Realty Ruckus and call us. Let us know if you guys need anything for the next show. We want to cover all of your questions and help you grow your business. See you soon.
This has been the Realty Ruckus. Make sure and join us every Tuesday and Friday for new episodes. Find us on YouTube and Facebook for replays of previous episodes. And as always, keep elevating yourself and keep up your ruckus. Thanks for listening. Realty Ruckus has been brought to you by Smart Pig Media Productions.